Tuesday night, the south coast of England, Bournemouth versus Manchester City, and somewhere in North London, an entire fan base held its breath. The final whistle blew at the Vitality Stadium. 1-1, Manchester City could not win. And in that single moment, 22 years of pain, 22 years of near misses, 22 years of watching rivals lift trophies that Arsenal believed were theirs. All of it collapsed into pure, uncontrollable joy. Arsenal are the Premier League champions, not in a few days. Not if results go their way. It is done, it is confirmed, it is real. The Premier League itself posted it. The official account, the one with the lion badge and the verified tick, put it simply, Arsenal are champions. No question mark, no conditional, just fact. And what makes this moment extraordinary is not just that Arsenal won the title, it is how they won it. It is what they had to go through to get here. It is the system that was built, the players that were trusted, and the manager who refused to blink even when the whole football world was questioning him. Let us get into this properly. To understand what tonight means, you have to understand what almost went wrong. This is not the first time Arsenal have been in this position. They have led this league before. They have spent more days at the top of the table than any other club over the last 4 seasons. They have had the points, they have had the momentum, and they have still finished second. In 2022 to 23, Arsenal spent 232 days top of the Premier League. 232 days, and they still did not win it. Manchester City overtook them in the final weeks and took the title. That record, the most days spent top by a team that failed to win the league, still belongs to that Arsenal squad. The same story in 23 to 24 and 24 to 25. 3 consecutive second-place finishes, 3 consecutive years of getting close and falling short. The pressure on Mikel Arteta was building, the questions were getting louder. Can this manager actually win the big one? Can this squad handle the moment when it truly matters? Tonight we have the answer. And before I go deeper into the numbers, the reactions and what this all means for the club going forward, I want to say this directly. If you are the kind of fan who wants proper analysis, not noise, not clickbait, not hot takes, but real, detailed, honest football thinking, then hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists for supporters who want to understand the game, not just react to it. Subscribe to Tom Arsenal Talks and you will always get the full picture. Now, let us get back to the story. The official confirmation, the Premier League posted it themselves, trophy emoji, capital letters, Arsenal are champions. That graphic, filled with players in red and white with the Premier League trophy sitting at the front, was not a celebration made by Arsenal fans. It was the competition itself declaring a winner. That matters. That is institutional confirmation. The league that Arsenal have competed in for decades, the league they last won 22 years ago, officially named them as the 2025 to 26 champions. Arsenal responded immediately on their own account. The message was simple. The Arsenal, your Premier League champions. No long speech, no lengthy statement, just ownership, just pride. Your Premier League champions. That phrasing is deliberate. It is for the supporters. It is for everyone who stayed through the difficult years. Sky Sports Premier League added their voice as well. Arsenal are the 2025 to 26 Premier League champions. And then they showed something that tells the whole story of this night. North London reacting to news from the south coast, fans outside, in the streets, in the cold, watching a screen showing Manchester City drawing at Bournemouth and knowing it was over. The emotion on those faces tells you everything about what this means. Opta puts it in numbers. Opta Joe delivered the stat that gives this title its full historical weight. Arsenal have won their first league title in 22 years, ending their longest wait for the trophy since their very first triumph in 1931. Think about that. The last time this happened, Thierry Henry was in his prime. Patrick Vieira was the heartbeat of the team. Arsene Wenger was building the side that would go the entire season unbeaten. The very next year, that was the world football was living in when Arsenal last won this. And now, 22 years later, under a completely different manager with a completely different squad, built from scratch, they are back. That image of Mikel Arteta on the touchline, both fists raised, mouth open, screaming at the sky, that is not just a manager celebrating a trophy. That is a man who absorbed every criticism, every second-place finish, every summer of doubt, and came out the other side holding the Premier League title. The Squawker draws the historical line. This is where the analysis gets genuinely fascinating. Squawker pointed out a pattern that is almost too perfect to be coincidence. And between 1998 to 99 and 2000 to 2001, Arsenal finished second in 3 consecutive seasons. Then in 2001 to 2, they won the title. Between 2022 to 23 and 2024 to 25, Arsenal finished second in 3 consecutive seasons. And now in 2025 to 26, they have won the title. Arteta has followed the Wenger blueprint, almost step for step, separated by more than 2 decades. The periods of near misses, the growth, the learning, and then the breakthrough. That is not a coincidence. That is a process. Painful, slow, frustrating, but ultimately correct. Squawker. On Arteta, the manager's squawker added another layer with a separate post. Jose Mourinho is the only manager to win the Premier League title at a younger age than Mikel Arteta, who was 44 years and 54 days old when this title was confirmed. That is the second youngest in Premier League history. The only man ahead of him is Jose Mourinho, who won it with Chelsea at 42 years and 94 days in 24 to 25. And again at 43 years and 94 days the following season. Those are the only managers who achieved this at a younger age. Everyone else, every great Premier League winning manager in history was older when they lifted this trophy than Arteta is right now. The caption from Squawker read, "Trust the process." And it is hard to argue with that framing, because that is exactly what happened here. Ben Jacobs gives the tactical picture. Journalist Ben Jacobs called Arsenal deserving winners and gave 3 clear reasons. Since losing 2-1 to Manchester City, Arsenal won 4 games without conceding a single goal, 4 consecutive victories, 4 consecutive clean sheets. When the pressure was at its absolute highest, when the title race could have fallen apart, Arsenal's defensive unit held firm completely. Jacobs also singled out 2 individuals, Declan Rice and David Raya. Outstanding all season was his assessment, and looking at what both players have contributed, it is difficult to disagree. Raya kept the goals out, Rice kept the structure together. When things got difficult in those final weeks, those 2 players were the ones who made sure Arsenal did not collapse. Jacobs also noted that Arteta now has a chance to add the Champions League as well. That element of the story is still ongoing, but tonight is not about what might come. Tonight is about what has already arrived. Arsene Wenger speaks through an old quote. An Arsenal fan account shared a quote from Arsene Wenger that feels especially powerful in this moment. Wenger said that Arteta was very conscious of the values of the club because he was educated well at Arsenal. He was captain of the teams. He wanted to restore the values of the club. The photograph attached to that post shows a young Mikel Arteta training with Arsene Wenger, heading a ball while Wenger watches from a few feet away. There is something deeply meaningful about that image tonight. The man who built the modern Arsenal, who gave the club its identity, watching his former captain develop on the training pitch. That same former captain now taking Arsenal back to the summit of English football, using the values Wenger talked about. That is continuity. That is a club that knows who it is. Fabrizio Romano and the Declan Rice moment. Fabrizio Romano posted a 2-panel image of Declan Rice that has already become the visual symbol of this title. The top image shows Rice tense, determined, with the words, "It is not done." The bottom image shows him smiling, relaxed, a Premier League badge on his chest, a champion. That meme is not just funny, it is accurate. Rice was one of the most expensive signings in Arsenal's history. He came to the club with massive expectations, and there were moments this season when it did not look easy. When results were tight, when questions were being asked, and through all of it, Rice kept saying, in his body language, in his performances, that it was not done, not in a negative way, in a determined way, a focused way. Now it is done, and he is a Premier League champion. The Bournemouth teenager who made history on the same night, Opta Joe, highlighted a remarkable individual story that happened in the same game that confirmed Arsenal's title. Junior Krupi, a teenager playing for Bournemouth, scored against Arsenal, Manchester City and Manchester United in the same season. He became the first teenager ever to score against each of the 3 clubs, finishing in the top 3 in a single Premier League campaign. The fact that this happened in the Bournemouth versus Manchester City game, the game that confirmed Arsenal's title, makes it even more memorable. While City were failing to win and Arsenal were being crowned champions, a young Bournemouth player was writing his own piece of Premier League history. Football rarely misses the opportunity to create those layered moments. The 10 numbers that tell the full story. Now let us go through the deeper statistical picture of what Arsenal actually produced this season, because the numbers tell a story that goes beyond the result. 18 goals from corners. That is a new Premier League record for a single season. Arsenal scored 18 goals directly from corner situations in 2025 to 26. To put that into perspective, the previous record was 16, set by Oldham Athletic back in 1992 to 93. Arsenal broke that record, and then Tottenham scored 17 this same season, which would also have broken the old record in any other year. The standard of set-piece coaching across English football has clearly changed. But Arsenal are the ones who set the new benchmark. Critics argued that this reliance on set pieces made Arsenal predictable. The evidence suggests otherwise. A record is a record, results are results, and a Premier League title trophy is a Premier League title trophy. David Raya's 19 clean sheets put him level with the greatest Arsenal goalkeepers in the club's Premier League history. David Seaman achieved 19 in 1993 to 94 and again in 1998 to 99. Raya matched that on Monday night against Burnley. If he keeps a clean sheet on the final day against Crystal Palace, he will hold the outright Arsenal record alone. He has also won the Golden Glove for the third consecutive season. Only 3 other goalkeepers in Premier League history have done that. Pepe Reina of Liverpool, Joe Hart of Manchester City and Edison of Manchester City. Raya is now in that company. He is 1 Golden Glove away from the all-time record of 4, jointly held by Petr Cech and Joe Hart. The expected goals against figure of 0.74 per game is one of the most impressive numbers in modern Premier League history. Going back to 2012 to 13, which is as far as Opta's advanced data reaches, that is the 4th best figure ever recorded in a single Premier League season. Arsenal conceded just 8.2 shots per game and 2.4 shots on target per game. Both of those figures are the best across all of Europe's top 5 leagues this season, not just England, all of Europe. William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes started together 26 times this season. Arsenal won 17 of those games. That is a joint highest figure in the league alongside Liverpool's Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk, despite that Liverpool pairing having started together 35 times compared to Arsenal's 26. And among all centre-back pairings who started together more than 5 times this season, Saliba and Gabriel have comfortably the best clean sheet rate. 15 clean sheets in 26 games together, 1 clean sheet every 1.7 games. That is dominance, 53 points against bottom half teams. This is the number that arguably matters most when you understand why Arsenal failed in previous title races. In 2023 to 24, there were back-to-back defeats against West Ham and Fulham over Christmas. In 2022 to 23, there was a limp defeat at Everton in February. Dropped points against teams they should have beaten. That was the problem. This season, they fixed it. 17 wins from 19 games against bottom half opposition, 53 points. An average of 2.8 points per game against those teams. No other club in the division came close. Manchester City managed 2.3 points per game against the same opponents. Arsenal were better where it mattered most. 238 days spent top of the table, 204 more than Liverpool. 229 more than City. Unlike the previous 3 seasons, this time they stayed there when it counted, and in a remarkable final piece of context, since the start of 2022 to 23, Arsenal will have spent 562 days top of the Premier League by the end of this season, 207 more than any other club. Until tonight, they had almost nothing to show for it. Now they have everything. Viktor Gyokeres scored 14 league goals in his debut season. That is a modest tally by the standards of great title winners. Only 2 Premier League champions have previously had a top scorer finish on fewer goals. Frank Lampard scored 13 for Chelsea in 24 to 25. Ilkay Gundogan scored 13 for Manchester City in 2021. Gyokeres goes into the final game of the season level with Eric Cantona, who scored 14 for Manchester United in their 1995 to 96 title-winning campaign. That is the company his name now sits in. 8 wins by a 1-0 scoreline, their highest total since 1998 to 99 when they won 9 games by that margin. 3 of their last 4 wins came by 1-0. This team is built to win tight games. They are built to be resilient. They are built to grind results when the attacking football is not flowing freely. And finally, the manager, 44 years and 54 days old, the second youngest manager to ever win the Premier League. A man who transformed a squad that was struggling to compete for the top 4 into a team that just broke Premier League records and lifted the title. He covered more distance than their opponents in 35 of their 37 league games. His squad ran further, pressed harder and competed more intensely than almost every team they faced this season. That is his identity. That is what Arteta built. The situation is this: Arsenal are champions, not because they got lucky, not because results fell for them at the right time. They are champions because they built something deliberate, systematic and exceptional. The defence is historically good. The set pieces are record-breaking. The mentality against weaker opposition, which was their biggest weakness in previous years, has been completely transformed. 22 years, 3 consecutive second-place finishes, countless questions about whether Arteta was the right man, whether this group had what it takes. Tonight, all of those questions have their answer. The Arsenal, your Premier League champions.